I've often discussed here how in the golden age of Hollywood, literally the stars were controlled by their studios. And it didn't really matter who you were with, whether it be MGM, Warner Brothers, RKO, even the lesser ones, they all tried to control you because essentially they were money. The stars really were made from nothing, given fictitious names, made up backgrounds from people like at 20th Century Fox, Harry Brand, who literally made up everything. And so did Howard Strickland over at MGM. They decided if you'd come from a small place, I don't know, like Idaho or something, as long as you had a good face, you could be turned into a star. And your backstory could be created around you. But not only were these stars willing to go along with this, because in those days, of course, no social media, and very few relatives rush into the papers to say they're not called this or they didn't do that, because, hopefully they were going to be on the bandwagon too. This was an era of discovery and, more importantly, making money. But now, what a lot of people don't realize, and as I say, I've been so lucky to meet so many of the golden age stars of Hollywood, literally, from the likes of Jack Lemmon to Billy Wilder to many people know like Robert Vaughn, Mickey Rooney, all of those people. Did you realize, though, that they literally controlled the crimes that the stars did too? Let me explain. You see, what a lot of stars weren't very good at, in particular people like Spencer Tracy, Humphrey Bogart, they liked to drink. And as they became famous, they decided that they really understood their character, a character that had been created for them by the studio. Somebody like Marilyn Monroe didn't have that Norma Jean attachment to her anymore. She was reborn, blonded over, made to be the ultimate sex symbol. She played the role. No wonder so many people ended up being batty. You can understand it, can't you? What's also interesting is this, that the daughter of Judy Garland told me that he really controlled you not just at the studio, but also at home, because the servants that were picked for you in your rented house, which belonged to the studio, remember that, they were also spies too. So if you suddenly developed a passion for, Seconal sleeping tablets, or indeed taking to booze, that would be reported back, fed back. Your phone numbers, your phone calls, everything was traced. They owned you. And as Mickey Rooney pointed out, there was none bigger than MGM. So much so they had their own police force. That's right, the MGM police force were tipped off by the Los Angeles City Police Department if there was a star in trouble, giving them around 10 to 12 minutes to get there, remove the star so they didn't need to book them, and more importantly, didn't get into the bad press. How did this work? Well, according to Mickey, he told me that there were so many paybacks and people on the payroll at MGM for the Los Angeles Police Department that it was hard to work out who wasn't on it. And he said he was grateful to it himself for things like speeding fines, misdemeanors with girls at nightclubs, all of that sort of thing. They literally controlled every single aspect of your life. But as Mickey also pointed out, himself was very well versed. He understood the difficulties of life before being in a studio. He told me that somebody like Judy Garland, being so young, by the time they chucked her away in the early 50s, she had no idea how to operate in real life. She'd never hired any staff, she'd never owned a home, all of that sort of thing. It was all controlled by the studio, just as long as you were making enough money. So when you look at these stars and you see these absolute revelations, apparently they could have been far worse, including, of course, hit and runs, everything like that literally was swept under the carpet. By the early 1950s, the studios were losing their grip, even on the Los Angeles City Police Department. New era, of course, of the bad boys of Hollywood, the Montgomery Clifts, the Marlon Brandos, the James Dean, and the studios couldn't contain them anymore. But it actually played into their persona. Apparently young teens across America in the 1950s at least enjoyed a little bit of reality. And so bit by bit, all of these controlling factors of your big Hollywood studio finally slipped away. And that's why apparently even the police were happy to play movie star for money with all the major studios. Always happy to share. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.